I don't have any audio. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well this afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
Ms. Bridgewater, the SAP reset date.
February the 23rd.
Okay. And good afternoon, courtroom 2. Where are we going to begin this afternoon?
Good afternoon, Judge Morrow. We're going to start with position 12, Mr. Wallace.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Wallace. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video to help prevent the spread of the virus. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Wallace, you've been charged in case 23 CR 0000806C with criminal trespass and simple battery family violence. Good afternoon, Mr. Howard. Is there a history?
30 total. You got an open battery DV. It's 22 CR 006 000695C. Battery DV, simple battery DV, criminal trespass DV, 21 CR 001872C. I'm not sure about the victims.
Okay. Anything further?
I'll leave it up. Those open cases, that's it.
All right. Good afternoon, Mr. Abdullah.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Excuse me. Yes, Your Honor. So in addition to those two open cases, the defendant has also been arrested for battery simple violence in 2006. It looks like he has batteries and simple violence. It looks like he has about 7 arrests for battery and simple violence, as well as a conviction for battery in 2006. The facts of this case are that on December 16, 2022, officers were dispatched to 2901 South Hills in reference to a fight and damaged property. On the scene, they met with the victim, Mrs. Marissa Harris, who reported her front door was kicked down and she was assaulted by her child's father, the defendant. Miss Harris told officers that the defendant called her several times, but she ignored the calls. The defendant showed up at her house and continuously rang the doorbell. She told the defendant she was not home and she was at her grandma's house in hopes that he would leave her residence, but instead the defendant kicked down her door, ran into her bedroom, and wrestled her to the ground. Both of Miss Harris's children, a 5-year-old and a 2-month-old, a 5-year-old and a 2-month-old baby, witnessed the attack. In fact, the 2-month-old baby was laying on the bed and fell to the ground while the defendant was wrestling with her. Luckily, the baby was not harmed, and officers were able to catch the damage to the door on their body-worn cameras. Ms. Harris also showed the officers a text message from the defendant saying he was sorry about the damages to the door. As you heard from pre-trial, he does have an open battery case against the same victim, in which he's out on bond now on a $5,000 good bond. He's also in violation of that bond because he was ordered to stay away from the victim. He also has another open battery case from 2021, which the facts of that case are almost identical to this case. It involves another mother of his child. He showed up at her house. His daughter let him in the house, at which time he pushed past his daughter, ran into the room where he found the mother of his child and assaulted her. He also grabbed her and caused scratches to her. He then left out and damaged her car. So like I said, the facts are almost identical. For that reason, also the judge in that case found it appropriate to give him a $3,000 good bond. This defendant poses a strong risk of reoffending as he has 2 open family violence cases and several other violent cases on his record. For that reason, the state is recommending a $7,500 cash bond, no further contact with the victim, a stay away from the incident location, 2901 South Hills, and no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while on bond. Nothing further from the state, but could we sound for the victim?
I will, Mr. Abdullah. What's the breakdown on the bond request?
I'm sorry, it was a $6,500 cash bond for the simple battery and another $1,000 cash bond for the, and another $1,000 cash bond for the criminal trespass.
Thank you. And I see you there, Ms. Harris. I'll give you the opportunity to address the court if you choose to in just a moment, ma'am. Ms. Kim,
Yes.
Is this your client?
Yes, Your Honor.
You can
Mr.
proceed.
Wallace is 34 years old. He was born and raised here in Georgia. Your Honor, they no longer live together anymore. This happened on December 16, 2022. My client has no objection to no further contact and stay away as long as he has a third-party transfer for his children, 4 years old and 5 years old, that he has with complaining witness. They live separately. My client is gainfully employed at warehouse. He's been working there from July 2022 as also in addition to being an artist. He completed up to 11th grade and he's still taking GED classes from Metro Tech College. We would like to request for a good bond instead of a cash bond. There's no way he is going to make it if he has a $7,500 cash bond. So we would like to request for $7,500 good bond. Thank you.
Ms. Harris, I see you there. If you would like to address the court, and of course you do not have to address the court, but if you would like to address the court, I'll need for you to raise your right hand for me. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court would be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you can put your hand down, ma'am. What would you like to tell the court?
I did call the police out because he did kick down my door. But I didn't tell the police that he put his hands on me or anything like that. He has been actually doing good, being an active father for his son, and we haven't been having any issues. That's just all I wanted to say.
Okay, well, it's an issue if he's kicking down your door, isn't it?
I mean, yes, he did. Yes, that's what I was mad
Okay,
about.
so
But he
that-
actually did pay for my door. The same day that it happened, he paid for my door. And we didn't
Okay.
have any contact for a while. But we do have a 4-month-old. So we are still in communication because of the baby.
All right, so you're not supposed to be in communication, though. You're in violation of a court order by being in communication with him, and that's and as such, that he could have his other bond revoked. Do you understand that?
Okay, so we're not supposed to be around each other or communicate?
You're not supposed to be communicating whatsoever. And when I say not communicating, I mean, of course, no personal communication, no phone communication, no internet communication, no social media communication, no communication whatsoever. Okay, so
yeah.
so he's going to be right back where he is if there's any communication. Now, of course, I'm not going to keep Mr. Wallace from his children. He can have third-party contact with them, but it's not to be through you. It's to be through someone else aside from you to arrange visitation. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So. If nothing further for the simple battery, it's going to be a $7,500 good bond. For the criminal trespass, $1,000 good bond, making for a total of a $8,500 good bond. No further contact with Ms. Harris. Mr. Wallace, you heard me say what no further contact is absolutely no contact. Stay away from the South Hills address, third-party transfer of the children for visitation, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Wallace. You also, Ms. Harris. Who's next?
Thank you, sir.
Your Honor,
You're
if I
welcome.
could make an announcement on another case, it's position 9. We've reached a plea in that deal. I just wanted to make you aware of it. We should be getting that paperwork sent over to you soon.
Okay, so Mr. Abdullah, you're going to send that paperwork to courtroom 2?
Yes, sir. As soon as it's already been sent to courtroom 2. As soon as I get it, I'll send it back over to the court staff.
Okay, thank you.
What's the name?
It's position 9, David Porter.
David Porter?
I sent it over to Mr. Muhammad already.
Okay, Officer Norris said he sent it over to you.
Okay, I just got it. I'll send it over now.
Well, I
Thank you.
need it. I need for someone to send it to me as well.
Yes, Ms. Bridgewater, I'm sending it to you now.
Thank you.
No problem.
Position 5, Hall.
Good afternoon. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation calendar that we are conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
I do.
Thank you. Saul, you've been charged in case 23 CR 000803G with simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
I got second arrest. Last arrest was 01. Hold on. Yeah, 2001 out of Florida.
Okay.
Fictitious driver's license ID. Yeah, theft.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Falk.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. This incident happened February 8th of 2023, so yesterday evening at 7:00 p.m. Officers went to 631 Linwood Avenue Northeast and spoke with Mr. Hall, who stated, just a moment, Your Honor. They spoke with Charles Hall, common spelling for both the first and last name. He and the defendant are married with 2 children, and there was a verbal dispute between the 2 of them that escalated to the defendant striking Mr. Hall 3 times with his cell phone and biting him. The concern here is, although it is her first cycle in Georgia, is that there they are married. They do share 2 children. When we spoke with Mr. Hall, he stated this isn't the first time the defendant has been violent with him, but this is the first time he has finally gotten police involved. He stated that he is afraid of the defendant. He is scared that if she's released, she will come back and kill him. He also stated that he has a bite mark on his neck and a love handle, which is going to result in us upgrading this offense to battery family violence. He also has a bruise on his nose from being struck by the defendant. He stated the defendant has called him multiple times this morning from the jail. We did capture those jail calls where the defendant is yelling at him, stating she never wants to see him again. He's dead to her. Also blaming him for being there. And at some point, Mr. Hall states to the defendant that she assaulted him and that he has marks as a result. And at the time, the defendant continues to call Mr. Hall names. So we do have some serious concerns here for risk of intimidation of the victim, being that she is calling him from the jail and berating him for being a victim in this case. Additionally, we think that there is, based on our conversation with Mr. Hall, some need for a ADET. We are also asking that she have no contact with him or their children, and that is per Mr. Hall, that she stay away from the residence and there's a one-time law enforcement escort to retrieve the belongings. I believe Mr. Hall is on the Zoom if we can sound for him, but the state's recommendation based on our conversation with Mr. Hall and based on our jail calls and the nature of the continued hostility towards him in less than 24 hours after this happened, we do have some serious concerns for his safety. We are asking for a $4,000 surety bond, no further contact with Charles Hall, stay away from 631 Linwood Avenue Northeast. We are further asking for a one-time law enforcement escort for belongings. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. McLeod.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Since Mr. Hall apparently is on the Zoom, I'd like the court to hear from him first.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I'm Shauna Woods on behalf of Mr. Hall. He is here as well. He is going to be retaining our office to representing him in the civil matter that'll probably go forth either a divorce or a separate maintenance. I'd be happy to talk to Ms. McLeod moving forward to talk about what happens with the family, but we are here and we are requesting that there be no contact with him or the children at this point in time.
And Your Honor, the state does appreciate Ms. Woods weighing in, but according to Marcy's law, Mr. Hall does have a right to speak. So I would like to sound for him and see if he would like to make a statement independent of Ms. Woods.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Woods, and Mr. Hall, this is your opportunity to address the court if you choose to. Of course, you do not have to, but if you would like to address the court at this time, you'll have to unmute yourself, activate your camera, and I'll have to swear you in.
And he is under the name Tamlin Hall, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Hall, can you raise your right hand for me, please? Yes. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court would be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can put your hand down, Mr. Hall. What would you like to tell the court?
My wife needs help, and I don't know if you can do it here, but just like a recovery program, rehab program would be something to help facilitate recovery, and would be amazing. So thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 43 years old. She is the mother of twin boys that she shares with the alleged victim. My client tells me that they were actually having an argument because she had an affair. Her husband was extremely upset about that. She had told him that the affair was concluded and she was no longer in contact with the person. He didn't trust her, didn't believe her, so he snatched her cell phone and was going through her cell phone. She tried to grab her phone from him, and that was the situation. He had her phone. She said she even wanted to call 911, but he had her phone. So she ran and hid in the closet because she was afraid of him. She tells me she has been a victim of emotional abuse throughout the entirety of their almost 9-year marriage. She also wants a divorce, Your Honor. She tells me that because she really doesn't want to interact with him anymore. She tells me that she doesn't really have anywhere else to live. She has mentioned that her mom is coming into town, but her mom doesn't have a place here because her mother lives in another state. She tells me that she believes her husband, who travels for his job, is going to be leaving for LA or somewhere today. So she wants to be able to go back to the house. The 2 children are not there. They're currently with their grandparents. My client has a bachelor's degree and she is gainfully employed, Your Honor. Her one previous arrest was in 2001. It is remote. I would ask the court to give her a signature bond so she can get out of jail, get back to working. Nothing further, Your Honor, except she would like to be able to stay in the house because it is her home and she doesn't have anywhere else to go. And she contends that she is a victim here. Nothing further.
Anything further from counsel?
Your Honor, I would just allow the court to know that the defendant does earn about $240,000 a year. I believe she has sufficient income to be able to have a temporary residence outside the marital residence. And if she was released on a contact bond today, we would immediately be seeking a protective order.
Okay. Ms. Barr?
Your Honor, I was going to say much the same thing. So Ms. Woods did take the words right out of my mouth, but we do not commonly agree to no further violent contact orders where there is no cooling off period as in this situation and where we have clear evidence that there is still harassing contact even from the jail.
Okay, there's clear indication from me. I'm not sure which way it goes, but there's not going to be any contact at this point in time. I think that's best for both parties that are involved. It's going to be a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial per the judge, 1-day anger awareness, no further contact with Mr. Hall, stay away from the Linwood Avenue Northeast address. She can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings that she might have there. I am reticent to keep any parent from their child, so that's going to have to be done in some other court. There'll be third-party transfer for visitation, which means that, just so I'm clear, Mr. and Ms. Hall, that you can have no communication with one another if there's going to be visitation of the children. It has to be through a third party, but no direct contact between the two of you all. And Ms. Hall, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
The children are with the grandparents, that's my understanding right now, Your Honor.
Okay, well, if it's agreeable with the parties, then the grandparents can arrange visitation for Ms. Hall. Okay, I think that covers it. Good luck to you both.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
Position 11, Robertson.
Good afternoon, Mr. Robertson. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Robertson. You've been charged in case 23 CR 0008108 with loitering and prowling, pedestrian having to use the shoulder, if no sidewalk, and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
This is 5th arrest. Last arrest I see was 07 of, hold on. Yeah, 07 simple battery, another simple battery, and a regular battery, dead died.
Okay, that's it.
Before that was in the 90s.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Abdullah?
Yes, Your Honor. The facts show that this morning at 12:26 a.m., officers were on a routine on a routine patrol in a marked police car when they witnessed the defendant standing at an apartment gate in the dark. They found that suspicious, and so they put their spotlight on the defendant, at which time the defendant took off running and ran across Mount Zion Road. Police officers were able to apprehend the defendant. They asked him several times to stop running, which he didn't comply. Once they were able to apprehend him, they grabbed him and tried to put his hands behind his back. He immediately tensed up and refused to put his handcuffs behind their back. With the use of force, officers were able to get the suspect, the defendant, cuffed. As you heard from pretrial, his history is somewhat remote, and for that reason, the state is recommending a $1,000 pretrial, $1,000 signature through pretrial on the loitering charge, a $500 signature through pretrial on the pedestrian and roadway, $1,000 pretrial, a signature through pretrial on obstruction for a total of $2,500. A $2,500 signature through pretrial, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol, a stay away from the Tanglewood Garden Apartments at 140 Mount Zion Road.
Does he have any reason to go to the Tanglewood Garden Apartments, Ms. Kim?
He resides at 50 Mount Zion Road, Southwest Atlanta, Georgia. He has a Section 8 voucher there. I would like to know how far it is between that one and the other location.
Ms. Kim, can you give me that address again?
50 Mount Zion Road.
And Mr. Abdullah, can you give me the other address?
It's 140 Mount Zion Road. I was just going to say, just from the difference in the addresses, it seems like it may be a little ways down the road. So I don't see a reason why he would need to go there or hang out at the gate.
It's about half a mile.
Okay, so he doesn't need to be there, does he, Ms. Kim? Thank you, Ms. Falk. All right, so for the loitering and prowling, it's going to be $1,000 SOB. They're all going to be through the jail. With a pedestrian on a roadway, $500 SOB through the jail. Obstruction, a $500 SOB through the jail. Total of a $2,000 SOB through the jail. Stay away from the Tanglewood Garden Apartments at 140 Mount Zion Road, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Mr. Robertson, I'm going to let you out, but you're going to have to make sure that that you show up for your next hearing. Otherwise, we're going to put a warrant out for you, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, good luck to you, Mr. Robertson.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Position 6, Lundy.
Good afternoon, Ms. Lundy. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Good afternoon, yes.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lundy. You've been charged in case 23 CR 000804J with battery. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
7 total. Last arrest was 2020 out of Hateville. Robbery, hindering person from making emergency call, concealing the identification of a license plate, making false statement pertaining to motor vehicle insurance. Let me get you that case number. It says 20 PF 005024. Got a 2020 FTA out of Cobb. 2018 simple battery, family violence, obstruction. Simple battery was a conviction. 2019 criminal damage to property, second degree conviction. 2014 failure to appear, giving false name.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay, Ms. Falk or Mr. Abdullah? Not sure.
It's me, Your Honor.
Okay.
So yes, that is correct on the PF number. It has not been indicted at this time, but she is out on a $9,000 bond on that robbery case. In this case, which happened January 9th of 2023, officers responded to 2450 Old National Parkway in College Park. They spoke with Deshaun Chandler, that is Deshaun, Chandler, common spelling, who stated that he was assaulted by the defendant and an unknown male at the Red Roof Inn at 2450 Old National Highway. He said that he had met the two of them earlier that day, that two of them assisted him in buying marijuana, invited him to hang out that evening to watch the Georgia Bulldog football game. He said at some point, the defendant texted him telling him that she was staying at the Red Roof Inn Hotel. He went to that location, to room 321. They stayed in there for a little while and were going to smoke marijuana, but he stated that something just didn't seem right. At that point, the defendant exited the room and was approached then by the defendant and a black male subject who pointed a handgun at him, at which point Mr. Chandler knocked the handgun away. They began fighting, and the defendant then began intervening in the fight and threw punches at the victim, Mr. Chandler. At that point, Mr. Chandler was able to run out of the hotel, go to a neighboring business where he called the police. He had bruising and lacerations all over his head, face, and arms, and was transported to Grady Memorial Hospital. Officers were able to go to the room, go to the hotel management, get the name of who the room was registered to. A photographic lineup was conducted, and Mr. Chandler identified the defendant as the person who assaulted him, along with the unidentified black male who had the gun. Your Honor, to be quite frank, this is a robbery. This is an attempted robbery. We are going to recommend that this case be transferred up to the DA's office. As such, we did not have an opportunity to do that before court. However, there is a previous robbery case as well from that 2020 case that is unindicted, that was a $9,000 surety bond. There is also a FTA from 2020, which gives us concerns about her risk of reoffense and her ability to appear to court. For those reasons, and for the reasons of how serious this offense was, we are asking for a $15,000 surety bond, and we are asking that she stay away from the Red Roof Inn, as well as no further contact with Deshaun Chandler. And again, Your Honor, but for Mr. Chandler being able to fight this off, this could have ended very differently. He did state to our office that he sought medical attention. He received a CT scan to make sure there wasn't any internal bleeding or anything, and they did not find anything, but he was taken to the hospital. He stated he does have some residual back pain as a result of this, and he has not seen or spoken with the defendant and does not want any contact with her, being that he had just met her the day that this all happened. Mr. Chandler is on the Zoom, so we would like to sound for him. Thank you.
And was the other alleged black male subject arrested?
Not at this time, Your Honor. From what I can find, and obviously we would need the full police reports, the unidentified male has not been identified at this time.
Okay, thank you. And I will sound for Mr. Chandler in due course. Ms. Gant, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Ms. Ebony Lundy is 28 years old. She has been in the Atlanta, Georgia area her entire life. She does have family here. Ms. Lundy completed the 11th grade. At this time, she is employed as a sales associate at Starship. She has been in that position for about 8 months. She strongly denies the allegations, Your Honor. She does not have anyone to assist with bond, and unless and until, Your Honor, this case is transferred to felony and or re-accused and or indicted, I would ask that Your Honor issue a bond that is commensurate with what is before you, and that is battery. Again, my client denies the allegations. We did hear about her history, that battery conviction is remote, and again, as we heard, the robbery matter is unindicted. I am requesting a signature bond on Ms. Lundy's behalf. If Your Honor determines that she's ineligible, then I would ask for a more reasonable bond, no more than $1,000. We are unopposed to the stay away and the no contact orders. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Chandler, if you're on the line, this is your opportunity to address the court if you choose to do so. If you do choose to do so, I will need to, you'll need to unmute yourself, activate your camera, and I need to swear you in. Okay, I don't see Mr. Chandler on the line. As such, it's going to be a $5,000 good bond. No further contact with Deshaun Chandler. Stay away from the Red Roof Inn located at 2450 Old National Highway. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Lundy. Okay,
Thank you.
welcome.
So much. She got a good bond, right, Judge?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome, Ms. Lundy.
Position 8, Massey.
Good afternoon, Ms. Massey. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. You have been charged in case 23 CR 000797B with battery family violence. I've been told by pretrial that this is Ms. Massey's first arrest. Mr. Abdullah?
Yes, Your Honor. The facts show that on February 8th, 2023, the defendant admitted to officers that she threw a stool at her husband, Carrie Massey, striking him in the face. Mr. Massey suffered from a busted lip. We were able to make contact with Mr. Massey today, and he said that his lip is so swollen today that he can barely breathe. We understand that this is her first arrest, but the injury to the victim was so severe. For that reason, the state is recommending a $3,000 surety bond, no further contact with the victim, a stay away from the incident location 117 Greenhouse Drive in Roswell, and 1 day anger management. No weapons, drugs, or alcohol while on bond. Nothing further from the state.
Okay. Ms. Kim, and I believe, is this Mr. Massey that I see under Vincent Massey? All right, Mr. Massey, I'm going to give you the opportunity to address the court if you would like to in just a moment, okay? But first, Ms. Kim.
Yes, Your Honor. Miss Massey is 32 years old, and he has been here ever since 2017, about 6 years. And she is indeed gainfully employed, as she will be working at new job for next month. She was customer service associate. She was teaching assistant. She has been always working. Your Honor, we would like to request for signature on bond since this is her first offense, and my client also wants to have no further violent contact so she can return home, which is their marital property. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Massey, if you would like to address the court, I'll need for you to raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you can put your hand down. Thank you, sir. What would you like to tell the court?
I did not want to press any charges, and I'm not sure who the prior lawyer was speaking to, but I can breathe perfectly fine. I do have a swollen lip, but I want my wife back. I don't want her incarcerated anymore.
Okay. Let's see. Has this happened before?
No, sir.
And are you afraid of her?
No, sir.
Okay. Anything further, counsel?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Nothing further from the state.
All right. It's going to be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial per the judge. 1 day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Mr. Massey, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. All right, good luck to both of you, Mr. Massey and Ms. Massey.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Position 10, Richardson.
Good afternoon, Mr. Richardson. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Richardson, you've been charged in case 23 CR 000801E with battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
19 total. He has an open case in state court for simple battery. 19 CR 007596E as in Edward. That came off a 2019 case. 2017 battery, that was dismissed. 2016 trespass dismissed. 2015 burglary dismissed. 2015 theft by taking, pled nolo. 2015 simple battery family violence dismissed. Yet another, no, that's the same date. All right, hold on. Yeah, everything seems to be dismissed. 2011 simple battery dismissed. 2010 simple battery dismissed. 2009, same thing.
The open simple battery, is that through pretrial?
I don't know. I ain't look it up.
Okay.
I'm sure the state knows though.
That's helpful, Mr. Howard.
My bad. I'm sorry.
That was a shorty bond.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Abdullah. Go ahead.
Yeah, Shauna, the facts showed that on January 4th, 2023, officers responded to 210 Harwell Place on a reported dispute call. Officers met with the victim, Wakilia Turner, who told them she was assaulted by the defendant. According to Ms. Turner, her and the defendant were walking back to the defendant's house from the store when she passed a male friend of hers eating chicken. Ms. Turner offered the male friend some hot sauce for his chicken, and this made the defendant upset. When Ms. Turner and the defendant entered into his apartment, the defendant yelled, excuse my language, "Bitch, don't ever offer another man no hot sauce." And then he punched her 4 times in the face with a closed fist. Officers noted that Ms. Turner had lacerations on her lip that were so deep they looked like they would require stitches. Ms. Turner told officers her and the defendant had been together for the past 8 years and have previously lived together but recently separated. Investigators also spoke with Ms. Turner's mother, who told them the defendant has a history of family violence with Ms. Turner. In fact, that open case involves the same victim. He also FTA'd on that case. That was a $3,000 shorty bond in which he was ordered to stay away from Mrs. Turner. So he's in direct violation of that bond. He also FTA'd on that bond, and so he has an open warrant out of Fulton County for battery against the victim. He also has an extensive arrest record for violent crimes, and for this reason, the state is recommending a $5,000 cash bond, no further contact with the victim, a stay away from the incident location, 112 Dogwood Drive, and no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while on bond. If the state could call for the victim or sound for the victim at this time.
Yes. Go ahead, Mr. Abdullah.
Is Ms. Turner on the line? It doesn't look like she's here, Your Honor.
Okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Abdullah. What was the recommended amount?
A $5,000 cash bond.
Okay, thank you. Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 43 years old. He is a native of Atlanta. He tells me that he is gainfully employed as a forklift driver. I would like to point out, Your Honor, that the incident location is my client's home. This is where he lives, and he does not live with the alleged victim, and they did not live together even prior to January of this year, which is when the incident allegedly happened. My client denies that the incident even happened. He said he did see her on that day or sometime around that time, but she had gotten into a fight with another woman, and he believes that that was how she got her injuries. But he denies that he struck her or anything, and he says he just doesn't know where that is coming from, Your Honor. I understand that my client has been arrested, but arrests are not the same as convictions. I believe, based on what pretrial said, he doesn't really have any convictions. So based on that, I would ask the court to give him his signature bond. He and the alleged victim are not in a relationship anymore, based on what she told the police and what my client also tells me. And they do not live together, and were not living together even in January when this incident allegedly happened, Your Honor. My client has no problem with a no contact whatsoever with this person. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, so the 210 Harwell Place is not Ms. Turner's residence?
No, Your Honor. It's my client's residence.
The incident location was actually 112 Dogwood. the 210 Harwell place is where the victim called the officers at.
Right, so my client lives at Dogwood, which is where the prosecutor had said that, he wanted him to stay away from. That's why I said that was his home.
Okay. So just so I'm clear, Mr. Abdullah, do you want him to stay away from the Harwell Place address?
I'm not exactly sure. I don't think that she had any affiliation with that address. That was just where she escaped to make a phone call to call the police officers.
Okay, so
I think it's
would
like
it
a
be-
neighboring address. If you give me
So
one.
I'll just say stay away from her residence.
Okay, that's fine. She doesn't live at that. She doesn't live at the 112 Dogwood Drive.
Okay, all
Right,
right. All right, so it's going to be a $2,000 good bond, no further contact with Ms. Turner, stay away from Ms. Turner's residence, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good luck to you, Mr. Richardson. All right, thank you.
Your Honor, if I could just perfect the record, on the Massey case, I stated that we spoke to the defendant and his lip was swollen. It looks like I read that fact from a different case. I just want to perfect the record.
Okay, I appreciate that, Mr. Abdullah.
No problem.
Thank you.
Position 7, Marcus.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Marcus. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Marcus, you've been charged in case 23 CR 000805F with criminal trespass. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
12 total. Last arrest was in October. Probation violation. All right, so he's on probation, criminal damage to property, 22 CR 007089F. He got put on probation for that in November. He got burglary first degree, theft by taking. It's 20 SC 174324. In 2020, they gave him 1 year to serve, then 4 years probation. And that runs concurrent with another burglary. Criminal attempt to commit burglary, 20 SC 174026. Also on probation, financial transaction card theft, trespass damage, 2 counts, theft by taking. Yeah. October probation violation, February 2022 probation, and then everything else is what I stated. All those burglaries. That's it.
Thank you. Ms. Falk.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure my volume was unmuted. So what occurred in this case is that the officers responded on February 1st to 1873 Sumter Street, Northwest, Atlanta. That is the home of Cesar, CESAR Gutierrez, GUTIERREZ. The defendant went at that location and left a note and struck the home of Mr. Gutierrez. Mr. Gutierrez actually had an existing trespass warning on the defendant for a similar incident and had a case number associated with that, where the defendant had previously been arrested for a similar incident at Mr. Gutierrez's home. Mr. Gutierrez also provided the officers with camera footage of the defendant coming onto his property and doing acts such as leaving a note on his property, striking the side of his home. He also positively identified the defendant. He requested to the police that charges be pressed because there was a harassing pattern here. According to Mr. Gutierrez, the defendant is known in the neighborhood to have negative actions against the community and its neighbors. The officers actually were able to pull 6 previous cases and 6 previous CAD numbers associated with Mr. Gutierrez and harassing persons at the Sumter Street. In the video, they were able to identify the defendant placing a note on Mr. Gutierrez's front balcony. One of the things that I do want to mention is we were able to pull up the previous case that he had, that criminal damage to property under where he was given a $5,000 good bond, and he was given a no further contact with a gentleman by the name of William Crossman at 1845 Sumter Street. So that's not very far from Mr. Gutierrez's address. We are also very concerned because of the burglary cases. Not only does he have burglary in the second degree cases, but he also has burglary in the first degree, where he did enter a plea of guilty. And in that case, he broke into another person's home by the name of Michelle Miller. So we do see kind of a pattern here of continual harassment. We did have an opportunity to speak with Mr. Gutierrez. He stated that this has been going on for about 9 months. He said the defendant keeps coming onto his property, has made a fire pit in his backyard, kicked in and broke his door, thrown rocks through his window in the sunroom, harassed workers who were working at his home. He's also begun leaving messages on his front porch. Mr. Gutierrez stated that he wants to move his parents into that residence, but has not done so at this point because of the constant harassment that he is undergoing at the hands of this defendant. He stated that the defendant, this is not the first time he's been arrested for harassing him or his neighbors, but he just keeps getting out and doing the same thing. And as we see from that $5,000 surety bond that he just received on, let me just check the date on this, on October 21st, 2022. It's been about 3 months since he got out the last time and now is back harassing members of that same community. So for those reasons, we would ask for a $5,000 surety bond. We would ask that he stay away from the home of Mr. Cesar Gutierrez, located at 1873 Sumter Street. We ask that he stay at least 200 yards away from that residence. And we also ask that he have no further contact whatsoever with Mr. Gutierrez. And again, Your Honor, I think this is strongly based on not only the previous case that he's currently out on bond on, but the new case and the previous burglary, not only showing a risk of reoffense, but showing that this person is really a danger to his community. Mr. Gutierrez is on the line, and we ask that he use sound for him and allow him to speak at the end of my recitation. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. And Mr. Gutierrez, I do see you there. I'll give you the opportunity to address the court if you would, if you choose to in just a moment, okay?
Sure.
Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Marcus is 28 years old, and currently he's been residentially challenged. For about 4 years, he has not been able to get any employment, and he believes that he has been cursed. That's why he cannot get any better. But I was wondering if we could have social worker services to visit him to provide housing resources and also get BHET, so that way we can kind of determine how he is. And we would like to request that he gets a signature on bond, or if Your Honor is not inclined to give him a signature on bond because of past history in this neighborhood, I would like to request for $500 good bond. Even that he cannot pay for. Our public defender services will continuously represent him due to the fact that he has been unemployed and he has nobody he can contact. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Gutierrez, if you would like to address the court, I'll need for you to raise your right hand for me. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, you can put your hand down. What would you like to tell the court, sir?
Yes, so everything that the Iman mentioned is correct. So it's been about 9 months of this back and forth, harassing me, harassing people that worked at the house. I'm pretty much doing this his playground. He just apparently got pretty comfortable on coming in, marking doors, making a little fire pit, put a black candle on the middle of the front balcony, and now those harassment cards that he leaves there, which are a little disturbing. So it's a lot of harassment, really, not only for me, but again, Will had the same case for houses away from mine, and there's at least 3 other neighbors that will be happy to be in court also to present charges and discuss their cases. And as it was mentioned too, we have about 6 different cases open with documentation, pictures, and everything. I try to do my best to really work close to the law and keep him away.
Okay, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Ms. Kim, I think that there's another issue that might be going on here, so I am going to order that there be a social worker visit. I want the social worker visit to more concentrate on not placement, but on mental health. And I would like you to have the social worker report back to me if he does not get out of custody on February 23rd at the state all purpose, so that we can see if there's something additional that we need to do in regards to Mr. Marcus. At the present time, it's going to be, per the state suggestion, a $5,000 good bond, no further contact with Mr. Gutierrez, stay away 200 yards from his residence at 1873 Sumter Street. As I mentioned, a social worker visit to concentrate on mental health, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. All right, thank you, Mr. Gutierrez, and Mr. Marcus, I'll see you back if you do not get out on February 23rd.
Hey, appreciate it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Judge Morrow, we can go to Alpharetta Jail. That's going to be an add-on position 3, Bobby Stover.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Stover. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You have been charged in case 23 CR 000809B with simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
What's his name again?
Stover, position 3 on the add-on calendar.
This is his first arrest.
Yeah, this was the
Okay.
first arrest, the North Carolina resident.
All right, thank you. Mr. Abdullah.
Your Honor, the facts show that on February 8th, 2023, officers responded to a domestic dispute at 11720 Metlock Bridge in Johns Creek. On the scene, they met with the defendant, who told them him and his girlfriend, the victim, Mrs. Courtney Berry, were arguing about a text message in his phone. The defendant told officers that Miss Berry walked away and was no longer on the scene. But while they were arguing, Miss Berry tried to walk away and he bear hugged her, and they both fell to the ground. The defendant landed on top of Miss Berry, and when officers were able to catch up to Miss Berry, who was walking down the road, she was still covered in mud and holding her head. She seemed disheveled. She was missing her hair bow. Miss Berry was reluctant to cooperate with the officers, but did tell the officers that her and the defendant previously lived together and at the defendant's house, but she recently moved out. He does not have any arrest. For that reason, the state is recommending a $3,000 surety bond, no further contact with the victim, Miss Courtney Berry, a stay away, we're asking for a stay away because we haven't got in touch with the victim, so we're not sure if she's still living there. But that's a stay away from 11720 Metlock Bridge. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol while on bond, and 1 day anger awareness. If we could sound for the victim.
Is Courtney Berry on the line with us? It doesn't appear so, Mr. Abdullah. Okay.
Yes, Mr. Stover is 23 years old, and actually they broke up on February 8, 2023. So my client has no objection to stay away or no further contact with her, unless she bails him out. There's nobody here in Georgia who can bail him out since he resides in North Carolina. But it's only 4 hours away, and he's working as a truck driver full-time for the last 2 years. He successfully graduated from high school, and he's not going to be qualified for public defender's services because of his stable employment, and I want him to go back to his job and keep his job. Your Honor, this is his first arrest, and there's no potential for him to intimidate the witness. They don't have any children together. They don't live together. And if he gets a good bond, he cannot get bail company to bond for him. So we would like to request for signature on bond or maximum $100 cash bond so he can pay and get out of the jail to continue with his job. Thank you.
Your Honor, seeing as the defendant is an out-of-state resident, he does pose significant flight risk. In addition to that, he would need to make other arrangements to be bonded out because if you do order a no contact, Miss Berry isn't online, so she will have no way of knowing to pay his bond unless he reached out to her from the jail. Because we haven't spoken to Miss Berry, we haven't been able to get in touch with her. At this time, the state is maintaining or requesting that no further contact whatsoever.
Okay, this is Mr. Stover's first arrest. I'm going to allow him to sign his own bond through the jail, a $5,000 signature bond through the jail, no further contact with Ms. Berry, stay away from the Medlock Bridge address, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Mr. Stover, I'm going to allow you to sign your own bond because I've been told by counsel that you are gainfully employed. I want you to go back to your employment. But you have to know that if you don't show up for your next hearing, they're going to put a warrant out for you. Okay.
Sure. Also, she has my.
Although please do not say anything. You can tell me later over the phone. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Good luck to you, Mr. Stover.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Oh, Your Honor, I have to ask for one-time law enforcement officer to take his phone and car from Mrs. Berry, who has his phone and his car.
So you're asking for a one-time escort to retrieve his belongings from where?
I believe 11720 Medlock Bridge Road, Your Honor.
Okay, he can have a one-time law enforcement escort to retrieve any belonging from the Medlock Bridge Road address. All right, good luck to you, Mr. Stover. Who do we have next? Welcome.
Position 4, Green.
We needed a breakout for Mr. Green, is that right, Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor, the state is requesting one based on our information.
Okay. Can we hold Mr. Green till the end of the calendar?
Yeah, that's fine, Judge.
Okay, so we'll take him last.
Okay, go ahead. Position 3, Graham.
Good afternoon, Mr. Graham. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Graham, you've been charged in case 23 CR 0008000C with loitering and prowling and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. Is there a history, Mr. Howard? You would.
No.
Yeah, I didn't see a history, Your Honor. Yeah.
Okay.
This
Thank
is
you.
the one I said needed a cosign.
Okay, thank you.
And we would be inclined to agree with that. So this happened yesterday at Lenox Marketplace at 3535 Peachtree Road. They received a call from 911, officers did, about this defendant walking around cars and looking into them. When officers arrived, they found this defendant and 3 other males stuffing items into their book bags. The officers pursued all 4 individuals who began running and then turned on their blue lights and sounded for them to stop. They continued running, but unfortunately, this defendant was not as fast as his peers and was arrested by the officers. Although this is his first arrest, we are asking for a pretrial services bond, just to be clear. We are requesting a $4,000 pretrial services bond, $2,000 per count. Stay away from Lenox Marketplace at 3535 Peachtree Road. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons. We're further asking for a 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew, and that the defendant have a cosigner for this bond. I'm not sure if he is still in school, but if he is, we would like to add that he continue to attend school at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Gant?
Thank you, Your Honor. The defense is unopposed to the bond and the conditions as stated. His mother, Sharita Graham, her name is spelled Sharita, is willing to co-sign for her son. However, she does not have a utility bill. She states that her belongings were all destroyed in a fire. She does have ID, government issued ID. A little bit about Mr. Graham. He is 17 years old. He has been in Atlanta, Georgia, in the Atlanta, Georgia area his entire life. He has 2 siblings and his mother, she's at work now. She states that Mr. Graham is of great help to her around the house. He helps with the 14-year-old brother. She states that Mr. Graham is trying to find employment. He is currently enrolled in high school. He is a B student. He loves math. He hopes to own a catering business one day, and he is unemployed at this time, Your Honor. And again, we are unopposed to that signature bond, as this is his first arrest, and his mother, given their current situation, does not have the means to pay anything toward bond.
Where is he in school, Ms. Gant?
He is in 10th grade, and I did not get the name of the school. Mr. Graham, may you tell me the name of the school that you're enrolled?
Yes, Your Honor. Creekside High School.
Okay. Creekside, did he say?
It sounds like Creekside.
Yeah, it sounded
Okay.
like Creekside. Yeah.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Ms. Gant, I'm sorry, Ms. Falk, you had something else?
Yes, sorry, excuse me, Your Honor. Judge Morrow, I just want to make one further request. Actually, after looking at the warrant, it looks like this happened at around 6:15 p.m. So we would ask, I know it's kind of a longer curfew than we normally request, but 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. I just think him being out after hours, it doesn't sound like he has any extracurricular activities. And so I think it might be best for him to remain indoors from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. just to keep him out of additional trouble.
And Your Honor, the defense objects, given that he is actively seeking employment, and again, his mother indicated that the family is enduring some financial hardship because they lost all of their belongings in a fire, and that my client is actively trying to seek employment to help with the family matters.
Okay. So it is going to be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial for each count, which is a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial. He is to stay away from, is it Lenox Mall, Ms. Falk? Is that?
No, it's Lenox Marketplace. So it's it's that big shopping center.
Okay.
Not at Lenox Mall, but I think it's across the street.
Lenox Marketplace. Were any of so did you say that none of the other people involved were named or caught?
Not according to his warrant, no. So
Okay.
I didn't see any indications anybody else was arrested, so we can't ask for a no contact with co-defendants.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I do want him to stay in school, that you to actively be enrolled and going to school, Mr. Graham. I am going to require that you continue to look for some type of employment to assist. And because of that, I'm going to give you a curfew of 9 p.m. To 6 a.m. So you cannot be out after 9, and you have to be in until 6 in the morning until you get ready to go to school. He's to have a co-signer of his mother, Sharita Graham. I waive the utility bill, but she'll have to bring valid ID when to pretrial. And of course, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. All right, Mr. Graham, you've been given the opportunity. So if you violate any of these conditions, you're going to be right back where you are. You understand me?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, good luck to you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position 2, Foster.
Good afternoon, Mr. Foster. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Foster, you've been charged in case 23 CR 000798J with 2 counts of simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
20 total. Got history out of Florida, North Carolina, and Georgia. North Carolina was 2013, assault by strangulation, assault on a female, interference with emergency communication. Those 3 charges were dismissed. 2013 out of Florida, battery DV, charges were dropped in that case. 2008 battery DV, charges were dropped. As far as Georgia, let's see. DUI conviction, endangering a child by driving under the influence. That was from 2021. Got a 2020 aggravated assault strangulation. I didn't look up the disposition. 2015 probation, 2014 probation. Simple battery conviction from 2014 out of Gwinnett. 2013 probation, 2011 probation. 2010 simple battery DV and battery DV conviction. That was out of Lumpkin County. 2010, another probation. 2009 battery DV, disorderly conduct conviction out of DeKalb. And I got an 08 simple battery conviction out of Fulton. That's all.
Ms. Falk?
And if Your Honor is sensing a theme here, that's because there is one. There's a significant history here of family violence battery. In this particular case, however, it happened February 8th, so yesterday, at 8601 Roberts Drive. Mackenzie Harden, who is one of the individuals in this case, she is the stepdaughter of the defendant. She stated she was walking toward the bathroom when she heard the defendant screaming at her mother, Jennifer Foster, who is the other individual in this case. She then observed the defendant violently strike Miss Foster across her face while she was using the restroom. The defendant hit Miss Foster so hard that her glasses fell to the ground, according to Miss Harden. Miss Harden then ran to her mother's defense as the defendant was about to strike her again. And as soon as she intervened, the defendant grabbed Miss Harden by her arm and shoved her. Officers were told by both Miss Harden and Miss Foster that the defendant routinely drinks and becomes violent. And this is not the first incident. Indeed, this is not the first incident. That 2011 case in Fulton County for battery, family violence, and terroristic threats was against Miss Foster. This was prior to her name changing. And then we had the 2020 aggravated assault strangulation, which is under 22 SC 185173. That is an aggravated strangulation against Miss Foster. He was then granted a $15,000 surety bond. Miss Foster, what I find a particular note in that case is on the bond, it states that Miss Foster was in the Zoom hearing and requested contact with the defendant, which is the reason why the judge provided no further violent contact in that case. The judge went so far as to put that in the order as the rationale. So that tells me there were some reservations that apparently the judge decided to overlook because of Miss Foster's desire to remain with the defendant. So what we have here is a lengthy history of family violence, simple battery family violence in 2011, family violence battery in 2011, family violence battery that was null prost in 2011. And then now this 2020 aggravated assault strangulation, which he's out on bond on, and now has a new offense against the same individual and her daughter. We did get an opportunity to speak with both Miss Harden and Miss Foster. Miss Harden stated this is a constant issue with the defendant being violent toward her mother. This is not the first time the defendant has shoved her. And she stated that the defendant was heavily drinking at the time of the incident, and she does not live at that location. She is insistent that she wants no contact with the defendant. Miss Foster stated, kind of typical of this kind of incident, that the incident was mainly between the defendant and her daughter, Miss Harden, and she denied that he actually slapped her and wants him to return back to the home. However, Your Honor, my reservations are in the extreme at this point. We have a $15,000 surety bond and a new case involving now two individuals in a lengthy history against the same victim. For that reason, the state is asking for a $5,000 cash bond. We are also asking that he stay away from 8601 Roberts Drive, that he have no further contact whatsoever with Miss Mackenzie Harden or Jennifer Foster, and that he consume no alcohol or have no weapons or drugs. We would like to sound for Miss Foster and Miss Harden, as they both stated they will be on the Zoom today, and I see at least Miss Harden here on the Zoom under her name.
Yes, and is this Ms. Foster under the fire tablet? Okay, so both Ms. Foster and Ms. Harden, I'll give you the opportunity to address the court in just a moment, okay? Ms. Gant?
Thank you, Your Honor. Jefferson Foster is 61 years old. He has been in the Atlanta, Georgia area since 1994. He is married and has been to one of the complaining witnesses, Mrs. Jennifer Foster, for 5 years. They have been together for a total of 16 years. They do not share any children together. However, Mr. Foster is the proud father of 2 children, ages 22 and 25. He also has a new grandbaby. Mr. Foster completed the 12th grade. He is currently employed as a carpenter at ATL 225. He has been in that position for the past 7 years. He strongly denies the allegations. He states that Ms. Harden was actually being unruly and that he was merely trying to get her to leave the residence. He denies making any physical contact with either party. Regarding the bond situation, Your Honor, I do acknowledge my client's history, but what we heard were mostly remote convictions. Many of the incidents of violence were dismissed. I am requesting a signature bond on Mr. Foster's behalf. If Your Honor determines that he's ineligible, then I would ask for a more reasonable bond, and that would be no more than $1,000 for each count, for a total of $2,000. I did speak to Mrs. Foster. She states that she wants to continue having contact with her husband, so we are asking for a no violent contact order as to Ms. Foster. My client, on the other hand, does not wish to have any contact with Mackenzie Harden. Your Honor, the incident location is the marital home. Therefore, we are asking that Your Honor not issue a stay away. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, so I'm going to go to Ms. Mackenzie Harden first. Ms. Harden, if you would like to address the court, I will need for you to raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Harden. What would you like to tell the court?
I would like to tell the court that both officers who did show up to the residence last night did see marks on my arm and on my chest right here, which is now swollen. He did shove me right afterwards. He did deny it. My mother was there. She did watch the entire thing happen. I was merely trying to civilly separate them, and he didn't like the fact that I tried to get in between them when he was in her face.
Okay, and did you witness anything that was done to Ms. Foster?
Yes, I did, Your Honor. I was on the phone with my boyfriend, who's actually about to deploy, and I heard her yelling my name. The bathroom's very tiny. She was sitting down using the restroom, and he was in her face screaming at her. And I watched him shove her face on the left side down into the wall and rip off her glasses.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Harden. Ms. Foster, if you would like to address the court, I need for you to raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you can put your hand down. What would you like to tell the court?
Okay, we got home last night, my daughter and I. I want to go ahead and tell you, my husband and I have had problems in the past, and I fully recognize that. We both have. I'm not the only one I'm not innocent. I've taken issues out on him as well. Last night was a misunderstanding. The officers took a photo of my face. There were no marks on my face. My husband did not strike me. He did not strike me. He did try to get my daughter out of the house, which I did witness. There was a lot of yelling. a lot of screaming. My husband's the one that called the officers, not myself and not my daughter. My husband and I have not had an incident of violence for several years, quite some time. We're working very hard to be a normal couple, and it's like I just don't know what to say. We're really trying. And last night, my husband was in bed when my daughter and I got back from picking up our dinner. And he did not want my daughter there. And I did yell for her when I was in the bathroom, going to the bathroom, because I did not know something was going to happen. And it did not. And again, the officers did take a photo of my face. There are no marks, there are no bruises. But he is the sole provider, and we're really making progress. And I don't want this to hinder what we've been trying to achieve.
Anything else? Ms. Foster, you're telling the court that you're trying to make progress. How are you trying to make progress?
Well, we're being civil with each other. We're talking. My husband had been going to counseling for some time. He had to stop that because our bills got just overwhelmed. My father passed away last year, and that put a lot of strain and stress on me and mentally. And he's been very understanding of it. And he is working, and he is trying so hard. He works 7 days a week. 7 days a week. He is so stressed. And I think a lot of that did come out last night. But I am telling you right here and right now that man did not strike me. He did shove my daughter to get my daughter out the door. He did not want her in the apartment. When we got home, he was already in bed because he wakes up at 4 o'clock every morning to be at work at 5, to get off at 1:30, and to do it all again 7 days a week. I just think tensions were high. Like I said, I didn't call the police. Kinsey didn't call the police. He called the police. That's really all I can say, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Harden, I see your hand there.
Yes, Your Honor. I would like to also state that he is currently on probation and should not be drinking. I don't know if there was any test given to him, a breathalyzer or a blood test administered. However, I physically watched him shove my mother down on her face right here with his right hand. I mean, I can speak honestly on that. I was the one civilly trying to separate them. Other than that, I would just like to say that he is currently on probation right now for a alcohol offense, and he was not supposed to be drinking.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Harden. Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor, I promise to be brief.
You're fine.
Ms. Foster, do you mind if I ask you just a couple of questions?
That's all right.
That case in North Carolina, the assault on a female, the assault by strangulation, was that with you?
Yes.
Okay. And what about that 2008 case in Jacksonville, Florida for the battery
Yes.
domestic violence? Did that involve you as well?
It did, but may I say something? It
No,
involved
I
both
mean,
of us.
I just needed a yes or no. Did it involve you or not? And I understand that there is an explanation, but I was just trying to
Yes.
find out if it involved
Yes,
you.
ma'am. Yes,
What
ma'am.
about that 2013 battery domestic violence by strangulation in Florida? Did that involve you as well?
Yes. In where?
It was a domestic violence in Florida in 2013.
Yeah.
Okay. And there were some simple batteries in 2010 and 2011 here in Georgia. Did those involve you as well?
They did.
Okay. And the North Carolina case and the Florida cases, those I understand were dismissed. Did you request those be dismissed, ma'am?
I did. Actually, you know what? I don't even remember if I did, to be honest with you. I don't know.
But they did involve you.
Yes, they did.
All right.
But they involved both of us, actually.
That's all the state has, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Gant?
Yes, Your Honor. Again, I stand by what I stated earlier. My client is, well, I didn't state this, but I'll state it now. He's presumed innocent in any open cases. Again, my client has remote convictions, and we heard from Ms. Foster herself that both people are contributing to some of the prior history. And we also heard that my client is in counseling and that they are forging forward to keep their marriage together, Your Honor. Thank you.
I tend to agree with Ms. Gant that both people are involved in this, and because of that, I'm going to keep at least one of them away from the other one until they can either get better help or resolve this matter. So it's going to be a $2,500 good bond on each count, which makes it for a total of a $5,000 good bond. No further contact at this point in time with Ms. Harden or Ms. Foster. Stay away from the 860 Run Roberts Drive address. Mr. Foster can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings that he might have there. And no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. So this is, if there is not in place, as I believe that there is, a no alcohol stipulation. There is now a no alcohol stipulation, which means that until this is resolved, there can be absolutely no alcohol involvement. Let's see, and just so that I'm clear to both Mr. and Mrs. Foster what no contact means. No contact at this point in time means absolutely no contact, no phone contact, no internet contact, no, obviously no personal contact, no social media contact. Until this is resolved, you all are to have no further contact with one another. I think that covers it. Good luck to you both, Mr. and Ms. Foster. You also, Ms. Harden.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Best of luck. Best of luck to your husband, Ms. Harden.
Thank you.
All right. Anything further on this? If not, who do we have next?
Position 1, Callahan.
Good evening.
Good afternoon, Mr. Callahan. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You have been charged in case 23 CR 000796Y with simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
This is fourth arrest. Previous 3 come out of Louisiana. 2017, he pled no contest to robbery. He's on probation for that. 2017, possession of heroin, and the 2017 possession of a Schedule 1 controlled substance. That's it.
Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. This happened yesterday at 765 McDaniel Street. It involved Miss Floydasha Wright, that is Floydasha, Wright, WRIGHT. She and the defendant were in a verbal argument, which escalated. The defendant then struck her in the face and in the back of the head. And at that point, the defendant attempted to choke Miss Wright, but she was able to escape him before he was successful in his attempt. Although there were no injuries being observed to Mrs. Wright, she did state she was traumatized from the defendant attacking her. And I do have some concerns based on the fact there is not only that 2018 armed robbery, which he pled no contest to and is still on probation for. There was also a 2017 aggravated battery with dangerous weapon that was null prossed out of Louisiana as well. So the state does have some concerns. These are pretty violent offenses about a risk of reoffense and the danger to Miss Wright. For those reasons, we are requesting a $4,000 surety bond. Stay away from 765 McDaniel Street. No further contact with Floydasha Wright. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons. I believe we did, and in this case, attempt to reach Mrs. Wright and were let me just double check my notes to make sure I'm correct. Yes, we did run a clear search. We only had the warrant to work off of, and so unfortunately we did not have a phone number for her, so we were unable to reach her, but I would still like to sound from Ms. Wright on the Zoom. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, let's go ahead and do that. Ms. Wright, if you are present and would like to address the court, would you make yourself known? Doesn't appear so, Ms. Falk. Ms. Gant?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Antoine Callahan is 23 years old. He has been in Atlanta for about 7 months. He does have family here, including his mother and a 3-year-old. Mr. Callahan completed 9th grade. He is currently employed at General Wholesale as a line leader. He has been in that position for about 5 months. He strongly denies the allegations. My client does want to continue having contact with Flodasia Wright. I did reach out to her, and just in full transparency, she initially stated that she was unsure. Then she stated that she wanted contact. I did provide her the link to appear to the Zoom hearing today, Your Honor. So we would just ask that Your Honor grant a signature bond on Mr. Callahan's behalf. If Your Honor determines that he's ineligible, then I would ask for a more reasonable bond, as he does not have anyone to bond him out of jail. The incident location is his mother's residence, Your Honor, and according to my client and Ms. Wright, Ms. Flodasia Wright does live there. We are asking that Your Honor not put in place a stay away, and we are asking for no violent contact. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm not going, so without speaking to Ms. Wright, I'm not going to allow that. Is this Ms. Wright that has her hand up on the iPhone? Ms. Wright, is that you?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right,
Yes, Your Honor.
so can you position your camera so that I can see your face?
Mhm.
All right. Do you want to address the court, Ms. Wright? You do not have to address the court, but if you would like to address the court, now is your opportunity.
Yeah, I would.
Okay, you sound ambivalent, Ms. Wright. So I just want you to know that this is an official court proceeding, so you're to conduct yourself as if you were actually in court with me. You understand me?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court, there's truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you can put your hand down. Thank you. Ms. Wright, what would you like to tell the court?
Recently after talking to his mom and stuff, and I actually do want to go ahead with the no contact order for the fact that I am pregnant and he did not care yesterday. It is never went this far, but I think that I'm gonna go ahead with it because he needs to stop drinking. He needs to stop drinking. And I just, as a mom, I have to do what I have to do for my children. So I want to put the no contact order on him. I do. I do.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wright. Now, let me see. You live at the McDaniel Street address, is that right?
Yeah. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and at the present time, he lives there too?
Yes, he does, Your Honor.
Okay, and you said, and I believe you told me that you're pregnant, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor, with twins.
Okay, well, congratulations, Ms. Wright. I hope you have a healthy pregnancy. All right, anything further, either Ms. Falk or Ms. Gant? Thank you, Ms. Wright.
Yep.
Nothing from the defense.
Nothing other than to ask that the no further contact be enforced, as well as the stay away.
Okay.
Mr. Callahan, please remain silent.
All right, so it's going to be a $5,000 signature bond through the jail. No further contact with Ms. Wright. Stay away from the McDaniel Street address. He can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings that he might have there, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. And just since I have you here, Mr. Callahan, let me make sure that you understand at this point in time what no contact means. It means absolutely no contact with Ms. Wright until this matter is resolved. Okay, so you cannot have any phone contact with her. You can't have any personal contact with her, no internet contact with her, no contact whatsoever at this point in time. If you do have contact and the court hears of that, then this signature bond is going to be revoked. It's a $5,000 signature bond. So if you violate the terms, you're going to be back where you are with a $5,000 good bond. Do you understand me?
Yes, sir. And I thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes, Ms. Fall.
The state just would ask that Your Honor reconsider through the jail as in pretrial services bond. The reason why is because both Ms. Wright stated that things like this have happened before, but has never gotten that far. And we want to make sure there's some sort of monitoring in place here in case an additional offense happens down the road. I understand Your Honor can order it, and I would just ask you to strongly reconsider the position of jail as opposed to pretrial.
Okay, I don't think that that's a request that I'm not willing to accept. So I will send it through pretrial. I understand that he has some issues that pretrial doesn't normally like to accept these types of cases. They especially don't like to accept these types of cases when there's an underlying probation that he's on. But in this circumstance, I agree with you, Ms. Falk, that some monitoring through pretrial would be helpful. So I will send it through pretrial.
And the defense is unopposed.
Okay, thank you. All right, good luck to you, Mr. Callahan.
You too. Thank y'all. Have a nice day.
Is Your Honor ordering 1-day anger awareness?
If you want me to, Ms. Gann, I'll be happy to.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, well, and 1-day anger awareness.
So it's through pretrial then?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
This is gonna be add-on position 1, Drummond.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Drummond. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we are conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Drummond, you've been charged in case 23 CR 0000807A with criminal trespass and battery. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
I don't have that file. My coworker has it.
Mr. Abdullah, do you know if there's a history?
Yes, he has 3 cycles out of Colorado, 10 cycles out of Georgia. Mostly all of his arrests are driving related, reckless driving, hit and run. He has an FTA from 2021, another FTA from 2020, a probation violation from 2021, as well as a license suspension or driving on suspended license conviction from 2021 as well. On this particular incident date of December 13th, 2022, officers were called to the Goodwill at 10955 Jones Bridge Road in Johns Creek. They met with the victim, Claiborne Brewer, who told them the defendant and him were at a car meet. The defendant tried to force Mr. Brewer to leave the car meet with another male because of comments that were made on Instagram. When Mr. Brewer refused, the defendant pushed Mr. Brewer back into his car and punched him in the face several times. The defendant also grabbed the sleeve of Mr. Brewer's jacket and ripped it off. Mr. Brewer suffered from bruising on both sides of his face, and his jacket was torn. There was two defendants involved. I'm not sure from the report if the other defendant was apprehended, but one of the two brandished a gun, and this defendant in this case told Mr. Brewer he knew where he lived. Mr. Brewer told officers that the defendant has worked on his car in the past, and so he does in fact know where he lives, which was concerning to the victim. The incident was witnessed by multiple people at the meetup and caught on camera. Officers received 5 sworn written statements from the witnesses. At this time, the state is recommending a $5,000 surety bond. That's $1,000 for the criminal trespass and a $4,000 for the battery charge, as well as a no further contact with the victim. Mr. Brewer, stay away from the incident location 10955 Jones Bridge Road. And the state understands that that's a goodwill, but it seems like the defendant and the victim may be a part of a car club, and this may be like a common meeting place for them. So we want to stay away from that address, as well as no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while on bond. And if we could call for the victim at this time.
All right, Mr. Brewer, are you on the line? Doesn't appear that he is, Ms. Abdullah. Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 23 years old. He is gainfully employed, he tells me, as a welder. He does have a degree, he tells me. He just recently graduated. Your Honor, he denies that he was the aggressor in this incident. He tells me that he is part of a car club and they will have meetups from time to time. The alleged victim is not a member of this club. He showed up there. He was told, my client heard the alleged victim making some very racist comments and using the N-word. And as a result of that, they got into an argument and the alleged victim struck my client first. And he actually tried to go after my client and his girlfriend when they decided to leave because things had begun to escalate and my client did not wish to be a part of it. This is not a situation where they know each other, Your Honor. My client has no criminal record. He has been arrested, but as the prosecutor stated, it was mostly for traffic-related matters. It was nothing violent. I would ask the court to give my client a signature bond so he can get out of jail. He has no problem with having no further contact with this person because this is not someone with whom he previously had contact and he doesn't really know. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay. So for the criminal trespass, $1,000 signature bond through the jail. For the battery, a $4,000 signature bond through the jail, makes it a total of a $5,000 signature bond through the jail. No further contact with Mr. Brewer. Stay away from the Goodwill on Jones Bridge Road, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Your Honor, if we could add a stay away from the victim's residence.
He doesn't know the victim's residence. They don't know.
The report says that he worked on the victim's car before, so if we could just get that.
So if he's not supposed to be around Mr. Brewer, and he's certainly not supposed to be around Mr. Brewer's residence, so I don't see the harm in adding no, that he's not to be around his residence. Okay?
That's fine. He just doesn't know where it is.
Okay. All right. So if he doesn't know him, he shouldn't be going to his house. Right? All right. Good luck, Mr. Drummond.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position 9, Porter. Come on, Mr. Porter.
We're taking a plea on this case, I understand.
Yes, this is the plea case.
Come on.
And I do have the paperwork.
Good afternoon, Mr. Porter. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you raise your right hand for me?
I'm ready to vote.
Okay. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Porter, let me just first say you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney represent you in these proceedings. We have given you the opportunity to have the public defender represent you in this regard. And it's my understanding that you would like to proceed today without representation from the public defender, and you'd like to plead guilty to criminal trespass. Is that correct?
Well, yeah.
Okay. Did you want to say something to me, Mr. Porter? That you do understand that you don't have to plead guilty to this charge. if you want to come back at a later time and address the criminal trespass, I may allow you to do that. But if you want to proceed with a guilty plea to the criminal trespass, I'm going to allow you to do that. Okay? Miss-
I won't. Problem is, I need some kind of representation. I got some mental issues too. That have to be, if they're not addressing it, they're walking over. All of them.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Porter, let me see. Ms. Kim or Ms. Gant, did one of you all speak with Mr. Porter previously?
Actually, I already spoke with him previously, Your Honor.
Okay, and he's accused of criminal trespass. I'm not sure if I'm going to be comfortable letting him take a plea to criminal trespass this afternoon, given what I'm observing. Mr. Abdullah, can you tell me where the criminal trespass was and
I just give you the facts, Sean, on
okay, go ahead.
On February 8th. On February 8th, the MARTA police witnessed the defendant loitering on the train with his bicycle chained to a seat. The defendant was given a trespass notice by MARTA PD on 12/5/2022. That suspension is to last until, I'm not sure the exact date, but it's a year, at least a year from that date. So he's still under active MARTA suspension. That's where the criminal trespass came from.
Okay. And I'm not going to allow him to take a plea on this matter today, given what I'm seeing, Mr. Abdullah. What was your recommendation regarding bond?
So just to put his record on, or his arrest record on the record, his last arrest was 2012. He had a criminal trespass, as well as a criminal trespass from 2010 and 2006. He was convicted of criminal trespass in 2009, disorderly conduct in 2009, and obstruction in 2009. Because of his remote history, the state is recommending a $1,500 signature bond through the jail, a stay away or comply with MARTA suspension. Nothing further from, and no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while on bond. Nothing further from the state.
All right, thank you, Mr. Abdullah. So I'm going to accept that. Ms. Kim, it's going to be a $1,500 signature bond through the jail. I want you, it sounds like there might be some issues with housing, Ms. Kim. If there are issues with housing, would you please have a social worker go and help him in that regard?
Absolutely.
So, Mr. Porter, I'm going to give you a signature bond and let you out, but you can't go back to MARTA right now, okay?
Well, yeah.
Okay, so don't go back to MARTA, because if you do, they're going to arrest you again, and you're going to come back before me, and I don't want to see you back here, okay?
But Your Honor,
Please, can I say anything?
I need to find somewhere to go.
Okay, yeah, and that's what I'm asking Ms. Kim to have a social worker come visit you and see if we can find you some placement for housing, okay?
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna try to help you out in that manner. Okay, all right, Ms. Kim, you'll do that for the court?
Yes.
All right, good luck to you, Mr. Porter.
Yeah, thank you.
Position 4, Green, this is the breakout case.
Okay, and we're gonna break out. Can we, I see that we do have one more at Alpharetta Jail. Can we finish up with Alpharetta?
Oh, I was not aware of that. Okay, good.
So, okay, so this is Mr., I'm sorry, I'm gonna mess your name up. Can you pronounce your last name for me? Yes, good afternoon, sir. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we are conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video? Thank you. You've been charged in case 23 CR 0000808F with possession of marijuana less than an ounce and driving while your license was suspended or revoked. Is there a history, Mr. Howard? Do you know?
Yeah, he got 12 total. 2017 out of South Carolina. Driving without a valid license. Who was found not guilty in a bench trial. Got a DUI conviction in 2021 by State Patrol. 2019 DUI conviction, Pike County. 2017 Morgan County suspended license conviction. Pled NOLO in 2017 out of Doraville for hit and run. 2014 probation. 2013 DUI conviction. 2013 suspended license. Pled NOLO to another suspended license in 2013. Window tint conviction 2011. That's it.
And Ms. Abdullah?
Yes, Your Honor. The facts show that on February the 8th, 2023, an officer was on patrol in the area of West Side Parkway, or at the intersection of West Side Parkway and Mansell Road, when they noticed the defendant's car with aftermarket tint on his brake lights. The officer then ran the defendant's tags, which came back a suspended license for the registered owner. Officers have conducted a traffic stop and made contact with the driver. Who was the defendant? The defendant gave his license, and his license returned back suspended. Officers asked the defendant to step out of the car. And while speaking to the defendant, they can tell that he was somewhat nervous. The defendant did consent to the officers to search his car, at which time they found three rolled marijuana cigarettes, equaling 3 grams of weed or marijuana, I'm sorry, and 3 firearms. While the state understands that the possession of firearms in one's vehicle is not per se illegal, it is concerning that the defendant did have the firearms while also possessing marijuana. In addition to that, the defendant has a 11-cycle arrest record, mainly made up of driving on suspended license charges as well as other traffic offenses. He has a conviction, looks like 2 convictions for driving on a suspended license. He has a hit and run conviction from 2017. A month after that conviction, he was arrested again for driving on a suspended license. In addition to that, he has 3 DUI convictions, one from 2013, another from 2019, and another DUI conviction from 2022. Based off of his driving record and his arrest record, the defendant does pose a significant risk to the drivers of this county and this state. For that reason, the state is recommending a $500 surety bond on the possession of marijuana and a $2,500 surety bond on the suspended license charge, for a total of $3,000 surety bond. No driving without a license, and no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while on bond.
All right, so for the marijuana possession, it's going to be $1,000 signature bond through the jail. For the suspended license, a $3,000 signature bond through the jail makes it a total of a $4,000 signature bond through the jail. No driving without a valid license, and no drugs or alcohol while out on bond. That suits you, Ms. Kim?
Yes.
All right, good luck to you, sir.
Thanks. Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
No, don't say please. You have a right to remain silent.
Okay, so let's see. I believe that we have Mr. Green, that we need to go to a breakout room. I see someone on here that's on an MSung, and I just want to make sure that we address, I don't know. Yes, sir. Can you tell the court who you are so I can figure out what? I only have one other person on my calendar this afternoon, and I want to make sure that I've addressed everyone before I go into a breakout room. So I see a MSung, sir, you're walking around. So if you can tell me, unmute yourself and tell me why you're here. And I also see a Mr. Gibson. If you want to unmute yourself and tell me why you're here, if the court needs to address either of you.
I'm Mr. Gibson. I'm the payee for Mr. Walter Green, who is there, Mr. Green there, who's sitting there in the courtroom.
Oh, okay, so you're here on the Green case. Okay, thank you, Mr. Gibson. I just wanted to figure out why you were here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and yes, sir, on the MSung. Are you with me? Okay, well, I can't seem to.
Your
All
Honor,
right.
if I may ask, person on the Samsung, are you Antonio Chambers?
Judge Marco, this case, he's here for Mr. Green's case as well.
Oh,
Okay.
he's here for, okay, so then I just wanted to, okay, thank you. So we need a breakout room for Mr. Green.
Yes, Your Honor. And if Deputy ASG Buffy Thomas could accompany me in the breakout. Thank you.
Okay.
You gonna get the history in the breakout?
You want to give me the history now?
That's fine. 4 total. He had an 04 arrest out of Alabama, crime against person, harassment. October 2022, simple battery that is open in state court. 2021, disorderly conduct that is open in state court. That's it.
Okay, thank you. And if we can go into the breakout room.
Just a small correction. We also have an open 2021 aggravated assault against law enforcement, 23 SC 185681.
Okay, thank you.
Can someone please put me in the breakout room? I represent Mr. Green.
Okay, we have had the opportunity to, Mr. Green, to discuss with your counsel and the solicitor the issues here. At the present time, it's going to be a $3,000 good bond. You're going to be placed on the next competency calendar, which is going to be on February 23rd. It's my understanding that you were on this calendar at not so distant past months. At this point in time, there will be no further contact with Ms. Chambers or Ms. Gibson to stay away from the Stokes Avenue address. And you'll be back, like I said, on the competency calendar in a couple of weeks. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
Judge, you're fading away. Your voice is getting real faint.
Can you hear me now?
Now it's better.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe it's we've just been on here too long. It's let me know it's time to go.
I think that's what it is.
All right. So we'll see you back in a couple of weeks, Mr. Green. All right.
Okay.
Ms. McLeod, your client has his hand up.
So he'll still be in jail?
He can be bonded out. There is a bond.
For how much?
$3,000 good bond, surety bond.
So is that like, can you pay a percentage of that and he get out?
Yes.
Go to a bonding company, yes.
Yeah, it'll be $300 plus whatever the bond fees are.
Okay, all right.
And you do know, Mr. Gibson, that there are stipulations if he does get out that at this point in time, there can be no further contact with Mr. Chambers or with Ms. Gibson. Okay, and he's not able to go back to that Stokes Avenue address. He can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings, but until this is resolved, he's not going to be able to go back there.
Okay.
So that is why I've placed him on the competency calendar to see if we can get him some additional help.
Okay,
I'm his attorney. I'm gonna put my number in the chat for you and you can call me, okay?
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, Mr. Gibson. Okay, I think that we're done. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Yes, we're completed here in courtroom too, Judge. Ms. McLeod, your client Green needs to speak with you.
Yes, you can give me a call. You have my number? I'll put it in the chat.
We can.
Okay.
All right. So whenever you're ready, Ms. Bridgewater.
Okay, once again, the reset date for the SAP calendar is going to be February the 23rd. Position number 1 is reset further notice with a $5,000 SOB through pretrial per judge. Position 2 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $5,000 good bond. Position 3, reset further notice with a total $4,000 SOB through pretrial. Position 4 is going to the competency calendar on February the 23rd with a $3,000 good bond. Position 5, reset further notice with a $5,000 SOB through pretrial per judge. Position 6, reset to the SAP calendar with a $5,000 good bond. Position 7, SAP calendar with a $5,000 good bond. Position 8, reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through pretrial per judge. Position 9, reset further notice with a $1,500 SOB through the jail. Position 10, reset to the SAP calendar with a $2,000 good bond. Position 11, reset further notice with a total $2,000 SOB through the jail. Position 12 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $8,500 good bond. Position, the first position on the add-on calendar is reset further notice with a total $5,000 SOB through the jail.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. We have a little situation here. Judge Morrow, he needs to, he's upset of the fact that he doesn't have anywhere to stay. And he's trying to see if it can be amended.
Okay, give me just one. Ms. Bridgewater, finish up the last two.
Okay, the add-on for position number 2 is reset further notice with a $4,000 SOB through the jail. And the add-on for number 3 is reset further notice with a $5,000 SOB jail.
All right, so was Miss Gibson, contacted today regarding this hearing?
She was.
Yes, sir.
And why is she not here today?
My mom just doesn't have like good understanding of technology, which is why I'm here. She basically was able to forward me the information so he'd have some type of representation. She wasn't able to like download the Zoom app. She just didn't understand. She didn't comprehend the whole process of it.
That is correct. I spoke to her several times. I tried to walk her through how to log into the Zoom, but she eventually just gave up. And she told me that she would send the information to her son.
Okay. If you would like more clarification, I'm happy to put this on tomorrow's SEA calendar so that she can be here, so that the court can hear more about what her perspective is on this matter, if that would be of help. But given that she's not here today, and I know that Mr. Gibson is, but I think that she has more of a stake in this than anyone. I'm happy to hear from her tomorrow if that's what you would like to try to do, Ms. McLeod.
Yes, Your Honor. She was really having a hard time. I've been trying before the calendar started to explain to her how to get into Zoom, but she's just not tech savvy. And
okay. Well, I'll give her that opportunity, and that might be even more helpful given that I'm being told that Judge Mincy is going to be the judge tomorrow, and apparently Judge Mincy has dealt with Mr. Green on prior occasions, so she should know a bit more about his background. All right, so Mr. Green, I'm gonna hear, the court's gonna hear from your case again tomorrow, okay?
It is.
All right.
Lord, hey, Judge, I ain't got one no go. I ain't going nowhere to get stayed.
Okay, okay. All right, Mr. Green, we're gonna see if we can figure that out for you, okay?
I won't go home today.
Okay, we'll try to figure it out for you. Thank you, courtroom 2.
All right.
So
Okay.
Judge, do I need the bond amount and everything the same and just reset them till tomorrow? Or just reset the whole thing for tomorrow?
Why don't we reset him until, well, I want to make sure that there are no Riverside issues.
Your Honor, let me just check. I believe he was arrested yesterday, so I don't think this would be an issue with Riverside, but I want to double check.
Okay.
To be absolutely sure. Yes, he was arrested yesterday at, let's see, he was booked in yesterday and it was at 12:20 p.m. So no.
Okay. So we good to go.
All right, so Ms. McLeod, if you'll try to raise her for tomorrow, let her know how important it is that she's here if she wants her wishes to be heard. You do the same, Mr. Gibson. I'm gonna give I think it's your mother the opportunity again to be here tomorrow, okay?
Okay, I'll try to hopefully I'll be able to go over there because I didn't have I had such notice today, like such short notice.
Okay.
And I just wasn't able to get with her. So hopefully I'll be able to get with her and I can walk her through the process and have her on here tomorrow. And real quick.
Do that because she definitely wanted to be on. She expressed that to me.
Okay. So I'm happy to reset him until tomorrow, especially given Mr. Green's situation. Okay.
All right.
All right. Very, very good. You all take care. Have a good rest of the week and a nice weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
And I'll be hearing from you, Ms. Bridgewater.
Yes, I'm getting ready to go scan it to myself.
Me too.
Send it to you.
And you also, Mr.
Somebody's so jealous.
Well, no, I'm ready to go.
Well, wait, yeah, don't be offering anybody any hot sauce.
Man, what? Hey, it seems like every
Wait,
week we got an issue.
goodbye. That's all I'm gonna say about that.